It's over, isn't it? Christmas. All the running around, all the stressing, all the pushing and shoving, unless you just shop online. It's not that stressful. But all that worry about, do I have the right gift? Did I get the right size? Are they going to be happy? Will they smile? Some of you were probably successful in achieving that. I hope all of you were. But it's done. Either way, it's over with, right? And then comes that what? Peace. Having it over with. The worry is gone. There's no more stress. There's no more running around. Unless you just choose to shop the after Christmas sales. But beyond that, it's done. It's at peace and quiet. What time did it come to your house after that last gift was opened? You're like, ah. Or maybe it was after the meal. Maybe after you sat down and eat with everybody. Because I know y'all stress about the food being just right, so everybody will walk away thinking that was the best meal of my life. Mm-hmm. Wasn't that good? And it says that peace that comes when everything's done and it's awesome. That collective sigh, right, is there, that peace. Is there anybody who like that feeling? Peace? I do. Yeah, I know people strive for that all the time. You remember when you were a kid, your parents would say, what I need is a little peace and quiet. Right? They play games like the silent game. Let's see if we can be quiet the longest, you know. Ready? Go. I lose. But then, or they play the dead fish game, you know, where everybody lays on the floor and is quiet, and nobody moves, and nobody says anything. First one does loses, right? Games like that. So we all want some peace and quiet. We all want to obtain that peace. We all want to have that, just that feeling. It's just a great feeling. Just everything with the world just seems right. Right? There's no worries, no anxiety. We search for it in a lot of different ways. We occupy our time trying to kind of get away. You know, some of us go for long walks. We like that, walking through the woods, having some reflective time to think. You know, some of us, that's the way we get. Some of us go sit in a tree, in a deer stand, or in the woods, and sit for hours on end, just waiting for that poor deer to walk across our path. But it's our quiet time. It's our time to relax. It's our time of peace, so to speak. Right? We all like it. We all strive for it. I don't know anybody who doesn't want peace in their life. That lack of conflict, that lack of worry. Yeah, but we all try to achieve it in different ways. Some of us go fishing. Some people go get in a boat and they'll go out there and they'll cast a line all day. They may not catch a single thing, but they're very much at peace with that. It's just spending that time alone. I know this lady, one lady said that her therapist told her that if she wanted inner peace, that she needed to start finishing everything that she started. And she said, well, so far today I finished 2 bags of M&Ms and a chocolate cake. I said, well, that might be good advice to finish what you start, but everything in moderation, right? We need to watch what we do and how we go about it. So where do we get this peace, and how do we get this peace, and where does it come from? You know, we strive for a lot of things. A lot of people think, well, money will get me the peace I need. If I just had a little more money, I'd be everything. I could solve all my problems. I could just pay for whatever I need. If I won that lottery, I would be so peaceful. Or if I just had the right job, where I was in charge of me and nobody told me what to do, right? Or if I was just in that right relationship, if I could just find that special girl, or that special guy, and everything will be right, you know. We put a lot of hope in those things that this world will fix things for us, will fill that hole for us, will give us that peace. But all those things are temporary things. We talked about joy last week being temporary, based on temporary things. Our happiness being based on temporary. Joy is more permanent, right? We talked about that last week, and the same thing here. You can't base your peace on things of this world, because wealth can go away very quickly. You know, a lot of people lost a lot of wealth a few years back when the stock market took that and lost. So a lot of people lost a lot of retirement. They lost things that they thought had them at peace. All of a sudden, it wasn't so peaceful anymore, was it? Jobs. On top today, out the door tomorrow. No guarantee of a job. Right? Relationships. They love today, just not happy tomorrow. You know, sometimes things work out and sometimes they don't. But my point is that all those things of this world are temporary. But there is one way to obtain long-lasting, everlasting peace. And that's through your relationship with God the Father. And He sent His Son to come on this earth and provide that peace for us. Provide that bridge that we may have eternal life through Him and have that peace of being in relationship with our Creator. That's where you find true peace, an everlasting peace. A peace that's not built on your circumstances, not built on where you are in life or how much money you have or how things are going or does she love me, does she love me not. It's not based on any of that. It's based on your relationship with God and your relationship with God solely. A trust in Him. I remember years ago, it was my second sermon ever. It had been about a year since I preached. I preached one, then I had about a year. The church asked me to come back and preach another. And it was on 1 Peter, I think chapter 5, verses 6 and 7. Let me find this for you. Let me find it exactly. Chapter 5, verse 6 and 7. And this is, I'm going to read it to you. This is what the verse was on that I preached on. It says, "Humble yourself, therefore, under God's mighty hand, that He may lift you up in due time. Cast all your anxiety on Him, because He cares for you." You ever heard that one before? Well, I don't know if you know much about sermon prep, if you ever had to do that, or maybe a speech or something like that you may have done, but this is how my sermon prep goes. Usually the first part of the week, usually after I leave church on Sunday or Monday, when I get up, start thinking about what am I going to preach on? Start praying on. God, what do you want me to deliver this week? What do you want me to say? And I'll start looking for a verse to speak to me that I feel like God leads me to preach on. Well, that came easy enough. The first part of that week, I came up with this. And I really wasn't that familiar with that verse, but it came to me, so I knew it was from God, because I wouldn't pick something that I didn't know anything about. So that verse came to me, and I start formulating my sermon. Now, usually I spend about 2 days formulating my sermon in my mind. In other words, I start thinking about what am I going to preach on. Start looking for illustrations that will keep you all awake and also drive the point home, right? So you'll remember the sermon. So I started looking for those and reading and doing those and researching, and slowly but surely it started to come together in my mind. It was like a well-made basket, just weaved so tightly, and it just looked like perfection. I was like, this is going to be good. I was actually a little excited. This is going to be nice. It's all coming together. God's plan. I knew this was it. Well, Wednesday comes, because that's usually when I start putting things down on paper. And Wednesday I sat down on my computer, and I typed. And I typed, and I typed, and I erased, and I erased, and I typed, and I typed, and I erased, and I erased. And I typed and erased. And I wore out the delete button. And I typed and I erased some more. And after about 2.5 hours of typing and erasing, I had almost a full paragraph. And I just figured, well, that is writer's block. That's writer's block. I just need to put this to bed, and I'll come back to it tomorrow. I still got Thursday, Friday. Well, next day I came home from school, went up, started writing my sermon. I typed and I typed. And I deleted and I deleted. And I was like, how can this be? I had this whole nice, weaved together sermon. It was so perfect in my head, and I can't get it on paper. What's going on? So I typed and I typed and I erased and I erased. And by the end of the night, I had a paragraph and a half. Wow. Now, for somebody who had preached for years, that probably wouldn't have been a problem. Because if nothing else, you can always go pull out an old sermon, tweak it a little bit, and preach it. This is my second sermon. There was no old sermon to go pull out and tweak. This was going to be the sermon, but I was really worried because, like, God, I prayed about this early in the week. It's not like I just ran out there on my own. I prayed about this early in the week. This is the verse you gave me. This is the verse you wanted me to preach on. And it's not coming together. What's going on? What did I mess up? What did I mess up? Because I want to go back and I want to fix it. I want to make it right. If this isn't what you want me to preach on, then I need to know that too. I've got 2 days. I need to know. And after praying for a while, I came to said, did you read the passage? Yeah. About 10 or 15 times I read the passage, only 2 lines. I read the passage. No, did you read the passage? I read the passage. I read the passage. I know what it's about. It says, cast my worries, my anxieties on you. You're going to take care of me, right? No worries. It's all going to be good. Happy times. Right? Isn't that what it says? Cast your cares upon him because you care for me, so you're going to take care of me. I read the passage. Did you read the passage? Okay, I'll read the passage. I'll go back and I'll read it again. I went back and I looked at the passage, and sure enough, I started reading, and I said, the very first thing says, humble yourself therefore under God's mighty hand. Where did that come from? When did that get in there? See, I had to get right down to that, cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you, because that sounded really good. And I really liked that. And I was all in on that part. You can have all my bills, pay them. You can have all my worries, take them. I know you'll provide for me because you care for me. It says it right there. It says it right there. But I missed the important part. The part where it says, humble yourself to God. Whoa. You mean I got to do something? Humble yourself before God. Now, what does that mean, exactly? How do we humble ourselves to God? I think it involves a lot of trust, doesn't it? To humble yourself to God. To come to the realization that in this equation, this is for your math people, this is not an equal equation. Me and God aren't equal. God is greater than me. He's greater than you. He is the great I am. He is the creator of the universe, and you're not. He hung the moon and the stars, and you did. He is in control, and you are not. So when someone is greater than you, it's pretty easy to humble yourself, isn't it? To recognize that, or is it? Or do we have our own plan? Yeah, that's what happened with my sermon. I had my own plan. I saw the part I liked, and I was running with that because God had called the play. I just ran it. It was a pass play. I thought it was a running play. See, and it just doesn't work that way. We have to recognize that God is in control. And He is in control of all our circumstances, and He is there with us in the good times, and He is there with us in the bad times. And when you start to look at your life that way, you see things a little different. You start to see that your circumstances don't really control who you are, what you are the peace in your heart that comes from God, not from your circumstances. There was a lawyer by the name of Horatio Spafford, I believe is how you pronounce it last time. Back in 1871, He was a lawyer in Chicago, had quite a bit of land or property, was well off, had a nice family, some daughters. And in 1871, he lost quite a bit of his wealth because of the Great Chicago Fire, as we all know. And economic times didn't do much more for him, and a few years later he was in a tough financial spot. But he had planned a trip to Europe, so he sent his family ahead because business had tied him up there in Chicago, and he was going to follow them shortly. Well, on the trip over from the United States to Europe, the vessel his wife and daughters was on struck another ship and sank. He lost his daughters, but his wife was spared. And she, of course, was grief-stricken and wrote him a note simply saying, "I survived." When he received that letter, he got on the next vessel and headed to Europe to be with his grieving wife. When he neared the spot in which the vessel in which his daughters had been lost, the captain pointed it out to him and said, that's the spot over there where the ship sank. And he penned what would later become a great hymn that you find in most hymnals, even today. And the words go something like this. It says, "When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrow like sea billows roll, almost there. You have taught me, no matter my lot, I'm sorry, I forgot the word. No matter my lot, you have taught me to say, it is well with my soul." No matter what his circumstances, he had lost his wealth, he had lost his family, or a good portion of them, but he had not lost his faith. He had not disconnected from his God. The one relationship that would give him peace, that would give him strength enough to say, it is well with my soul. You see, it is that relationship with Christ, or through Christ, with our eternal Father, that gives us that peace. Knowing that He is in control and that He does have the final word. And that no matter what happens here on earth, no matter how bad your circumstances may seem, whether you lose that job, whether you lose that wealth, whether your health goes bad, as it sometimes will, God has the final word. He's in charge. And there's something very peaceful about that. Because in fact, He does care for you. And although you may not be equal, you are His children. You are His children who He loves. And the love that in your best day you cannot equal, He gives you back. As much as you love your children, or your spouse, or your mother, or your father, He loves you even more. Wow. That's a lot of love. Isn't it? Doesn't that give you some comfort? Doesn't that give you that peace and knowing that that person who loves you that much is always looking out for you? And though your circumstances may not be the best, He's still there. And though you may wonder, how did I get here? How did things go so bad? He's still there. He never walks away from you, because the peace that Jesus gave his disciples when he said, my peace I give you, right? Not as the world gives you. It's a different kind of peace. It's not based on worldly things. It's based on the character of Christ, the character of God, which is unchanging. He loves you yesterday. He loves you today. And he will love you tomorrow. He cared for you yesterday. He cares for you today. And he will care for you tomorrow. That's not going to change. That absolutely will not change. He's looking out for you yesterday. He's looking out for you today. And he's looking out for you tomorrow. And though our plans made, the circumstances in our life, I know this happened to me many times, where they seem to be terrible. End of the world. How did I get here? This is so bad. I'll never see the sunshine again. Woe is me. You know, you ever been there? Some of you might be sitting there right now. I don't know. But then the sun does come out. Things do get better. And when you look back, you're like, oh, I get it now. I know I had to go through that so I could survive this. I know I had to get through that so I could get to this. You see, we don't always understand it. We don't always see the big picture, but we can trust in a God that loves us and cares for us and wants the best for us. We can trust in that God. We can humble ourselves and put it all in his hands and trust him. Not kind of, sort of, almost, maybe put it in his hands. I mean, put it in his hands. Not holding on to the edge just in case he drops it. No. We want to hold on because we're human and we think, well, you know, God, just in case you're too busy, I got it. If you drop it, God. No, just trust him. Only trust him. And you'll see some wonderful things happen. Your perspective on life is going to change completely. You're going to start looking for God at work around you, even in the midst of crises and when circumstances aren't going your way. What are you trying to teach me? That's what I had to learn. What are you trying to teach me, God? Show me what you're trying to teach me. Open up my eyes, my ears, my heart, that I may learn what it is that you would have me to learn, because I want to be in one with you. I want to be in one with your will. I want to be in accordance with whatever you would have me to do today. And when you approach your life that way, things change. Peace is easy. It doesn't come home. Because you know that God is in control. Now, I don't know what your circumstances are today. You may be in a pretty good place. You may be at peace. Maybe not. I don't know. Or maybe you're fretting over finances or job or health. You got something that's worrying. Well, I want to encourage you today to hand it over. Not to me, but to God. Put it in the hands of someone who is in control. Someone who knows the future, has been there. Someone who loves you and who cares about you. And who has the final word. And definitely has the final say. Put it in his hands. Trust in him. Open up your heart. And receive that peace. So that one day, maybe today, that no matter what your circumstances are, you can say, it is well. It is well. It is well with my soul. And all God's people said, amen. Amen.